Hello, my name is Glynn Tonsor. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Agricultural Economics here at Kansas State University. This short video is the second in a series looking at beef demand issues. I encourage you to look at a similar video that was recorded yesterday that looked at the important distinction between changes in beef demand and changes in quantity demanded. The purpose of this recording is to highlight issues and increase our understanding of what increases beef demand, what decreases beef demand, and to highlight some resources that tell us how beef demand has changed over time. Let's walk through the basics of how beef demand can increase by using changes in consumer incomes as our example. A question I often get is, what happens to beef demand if consumer incomes rise? So let's look at this initial chart where we have a demand curve, the green line, a blue supply curve, and some normal situation where we have a beef price of P1 and a beef quantity demanded of Q1. If consumer incomes rise, because beef is what economists would call a normal good, what we generally observe is demand for beef increases. In graphical form, you'll see the new demand line is yellow or gold and is shifted to the right as depicted by the green arrow. That is, as consumer incomes go up, consumers tend to value and desire more beef. What we see is a higher beef price, P2, transacted to match with the increase in the quantity of beef demanded, Q2. What else can increase beef demand besides higher incomes? Well, higher prices of substitutes. In particular, if pork or poultry prices increase, we tend to see an increase in beef demand because the relative price of beef has went down. So consumers tend to substitute into beef and away from the more expensive products of pork and poultry products. Similarly, anything that improves quality perceptions of beef tends to lead to an increase in beef demand. There's a whole facet of those quality aspects. Lots of research on this I encourage you to look at if you have a narrow interest. But this includes health and nutrition information, food safety information, tenderness of the product, and convenience. Anything that enhances the perceived quality of beef will improve beef demand, and you'll have the same kind of graphical outcome or sequence of events as shown on the previous slide as it relates to increases in income. The converse, of course, would be is what happens if consumer incomes fall. Well, not surprisingly, we go back to our initial graph situation. If consumer incomes fall, what we observe is a reduction in beef demand. In this case, you'll see the red line to the left, we've had a reduction. The yellow new demand curve, demand 2, in this case has moved to the left from the original green line, and the net impact of that is we have a reduction in beef quantity demanded. The new Q2 is lower than the original Q1 value, and we have a reduction in the beef price that actually is transacted. The new P2 value is lower than the P1 value. Similarly, besides decreases in income, what else would decrease beef demand? Well, lower prices of substitutes. So if pork or poultry products fall at a faster rate than beef prices or increase at a slower rate than beef prices, we tend to see a substitution towards, again, the cheaper product. In this case, in that situation, it would be disadvantageous to beef demand. Similarly, anything that reduces quality perceptions in the eyes of the consumer along the lines of health, nutrition, food safety, tenderness, convenience, or other things I've not noted here would also reduce beef demand. A rational question, of course, would be, okay, so how has beef demand changed over time? There are several ways to monitor changes in beef demand. One way is a development and a regular updating of something called a demand index. This right here is one example of that. There's different ways to do this, and I won't share the specifics of that because that's available online. Rather, I will simply highlight in this video that lots of things are always changing. Consumer incomes are changing, perceptions of quality are changing, product development is changing, lots of different things that ultimately have a net impact on what we observe for beef demand change over time. And things like these demand indices are built to try to increase our understanding of how beef demand has decreased or increased over time. The purpose of this short video was simply to highlight main drivers that past research has found have changed either by increasing or decreasing beef demand here in the U.S. over time, and to give a graphical depiction of those forces. I encourage you to go to this website for more related information. There's links to beef demand research, there's links to the demand index noted on the previous slide, and so forth. This is an area of ongoing research, and I encourage you to regularly come back to this website. Thank you for your time, and enjoy what's left of your day.